Is Destiny traveling through both space and time? You'll find out right after this. Hey everybody, I'm Taylor and I'm the Stargate Guy, where I talk to you about everything and anything Stargate. Today we are summing up the last live stream that happened this morning. They take place the first Sunday of every month at 9 a.m. if you want to follow in. And I'm talking about a theory put by one of you guys, Sam Mauser on Facebook, theorizing that Destiny is not just traveling through space, but also through time. So let's find out if his theory has any merit. So this theory was submitted by subscriber Sam Mauser on Facebook. And he says, this is a long one, so hang with me. He says, quote, "Yes, so I have a theory that Destiny is not only traveling in space, but also in time. Hear me out, because you'll like this. So we know the vessel is FTL, but not hyperspace, which is interesting. Modern physics, as I'm aware, if you could travel up to the value c, there is time dilation. Imagine if the time dilation is like bow shock, that the aircraft accelerates through the sound barrier. Destiny, I think, is experiencing temporal bow shock. I want credit for that phase, and Sam, you got it. So as Destiny meanders through the universe, it slowly drifts back through time. I'm sure there's a brief reference to the Ninth Chevron and Destiny's computer making an X Factor, which was a weird show. Time distance calculation, so there's evidence for this theory. The mission is to meet the intelligence that was there before the universe began. Sam, small correction, it was the intelligent life just after the Big Bang, not before it. If it was before it, then that would be impossible. Is your hair standing on end yet? Because pucker up, Buttercup. So we now imagine the stones project consciousness not only across vast distances, just maybe not in real time. It is only perceived that way to the individual using them, which by breaking relativistic physics using some kind of freaky entanglement. Okay, so now it gets squirrely. Dude, Sam, you got squirrely a while ago. I think Destiny's crew are the Ancients. Yep, mind blown. Think about the Defendants. A race founded by scientists that came from a distant galaxy. Yeah, I know the Futurans may well be the founders of the Ori. Nice one, Brody. Essentially, the Testament lays out the Ulturan principles. It was even written in the derivative of Ancient. It was even written in a derivative of Ancient. Okay, I need feedback on this bad boy as a fan theory. If you make a video, all I ask is a brief mention, and that's okay, buddy. And definitely want to hear what you think. What's epic about this is Destiny may be the force that starts the universe. Payload in pro. The crew are the Ancients, and the humans inhabit the entire universe because of an information paradox. Even in SG-1, when Carter speculates about why trees and fruit species throughout not only the Milky Way, but it seems the universe all seems a bit terrestrial. It was all Destiny and its journey to create all humans from nothing, and essentially terraform the universe. They're not on a mission to meet God or save the universe. They are God, and they are on their way to create the universe, which explains why the Ancients said, quote, "Whomever controls Destiny controls the fate of all things." It gave me chills coming up with this realization. I even perhaps feel they might have gone that road. Or go on, I'll stop wavering, and I would love your feedback. Well, Sam, you got my feedback, my friend. So this theory has a lot of parts to it. To sum up the theory, Sam theorizes, Sam Mauser, the subscriber, not Samantha Carter, he theorizes that Destiny, as it is traveling through the universe, going at FTL, after FTL, time dilation gets worse or greater, then the Destiny is traveling back in time the further closer to the Big Bang center it gets. Along the way, the human inhabitants that came aboard Destiny broke off to become the Ancients and the Ori millions of years ago, and that the stones not only work across vast distances, but it also causes it crosses across time as well, allowing the people on board to think that they're talking in real time, but in reality they're not, since they're far in the past. Furthermore, he theorizes that the Destiny itself has some sort of payload that could spread life throughout the entire galaxy, and that's why we see on planets we have a lot of trees and bushes and sand, and it all looks a lot like Earth. That's basically what I understand it, Sam, about what your theory is, and to sum up. So, my 2 cents, having actually had time to research this, unlike you guys, is that we need to take this apart one piece at a time. Excuse me. Oh, I dropped water everywhere. So, first off, let's talk about whether or not first off, let's talk about time dilation. There we go. So, time dilation is basically that the closer you get to the speed of light, the slower time happens. This is part of relativity that was theorized by Einstein almost 100 years ago. That's kind of crazy to think of. Basically, the idea is that the faster you get, or the more mass you have next to you, the slower time gets. Now, there's actually been studies done proving to some extent that this relativity does happen. For example, the wonderful people up in orbit along the International Space Station, they experience time a little slower than we down on here on this planet, which is massive and it weighs upon the fabric of time and space. So, time dilation is a thing as far as we know in physics. The debate then becomes within physicists all over the world is, does time dilation happen after or once you surpass the speed of light? Now, the speed of light is considered the cosmological constant, and nothing can break the speed of light except the expansion of the universe. The universe is expanding every single day. The universe, even though we look up in the stars, and it seems like day to day it doesn't really change, in reality it is expanding, and it is expanding faster than light. Now, that's a whole relativity thing in its own that I don't fully understand, but physicists today are debating about whether or not you get past the speed of light if time dilation gets even worse, or if it just goes away entirely. Some says yes, it gets worse. Others say no, it goes away. So it comes down to, in the Stargate universe, after FTL, does time dilation occur or does it not? That becomes the question. So, in order, I'm getting distracted by the comments. It's cool to see where you guys are all from. England, Belize, let's see here, Russia, all sorts of different places. Welcome, guys. You guys are freaking awesome. Sorry, I get distracted. I'm going to have to scroll up so I don't look at the comments right now. You guys are distracting me. You're so cool. Anyway, so physicists are split on the issue. Some say yes, some say no as far as time dilation. Now, within the Stargate universe, we can go on a couple of different things to try to see what it is within the Stargate universe. Does time dilation happen after FTL? Or with FTL? So, let's talk about the stones. Sam proposes that the stones, he supposes that after FTL, then yes, time dilation occurs even more, and so the stones have to work not in really real time because it is transmitting through or back through time or forward through time, depending on how you want to think about it, but it's not really happening in the present. I would say, Sam, that piece of evidence is wrong. I would state that the stones do work in real time, and there are a couple of different pieces of evidence why this would be. The first one is Daniel and Vala. At the beginning of Season 9, Daniel and Vala are connected. They have the weird freaky bracelet things, you remember that? And their consciousness gets transmitted to the Ori home galaxy, and they are able to interact with the Ori and with the priors. Sam believes that this is just that this can happen in the past, that it is not really happening in real time, it is just perceived as being happening in real time. However, Sam, as the third-party observers watching on Stargate, we get to see Daniel and Vala being tied up and having fire come around them and burning alive. We see back in SGC, that their vital signs and that their bodies reacting to this mindset is happening in real time. We also then sorry guys, apparently I'm not thinking straight this morning. And that the life signs and that their heart rates, their blood pressure, everything like that would have corresponded with a person about ready to be burned alive and at a heightened state of, oh my God, my life is going to end. So that's one piece of evidence why I would argue the stones actually happen in real time. Plus, if it happened in the past, then that means that the Ori theoretically would have been warned in the past or in the future. But everything that lines up with the whole Ori invasion does happen in real time. So, and that was started by the stones and by the first communication, which appeared to have happened in real time. Now, within Stargate Universe itself, I would argue that it gives us further evidence that the stones happen in real time and it is not just perceived that way, not because of all the different times that we see people interacting with others on the Earth, but rather the times where they stop interacting with other people. When the ship jumps into FTL, everything gets all lengthy and wonky, and the stones disconnect for a few seconds while the ship is jumping into FTL. Now, if we see Destiny jumping into FTL, we see the engine lights up and it slowly speeds up and then hits FTL and it breaks through that temporal bow shock that Sam was talking about. But on the way it takes to get from 0 to the speed of light, that is the part where you experience that time dilation effect that we know about in relativity. Therefore, that time dilation threw off the connection in the stones. Get it? It's the time, it's the disconnection in time, one happening quicker than the other for that few seconds, that disconnects the stones. They can't happen when one time is going at a completely different speed than the other time. Now, they make a quick reconnection once the ship is at FTL and time levels out. So I would argue that right there, the stones are telling us that it is happening in actual real time, and that when Destiny is traveling in time, but due to the time dilation, it doesn't work. So, next, he theorizes that the crew of the Destiny become the Ancients, that they get thrown back in time, and that they split into two distinct countries. That of Young Land and that of Futura. I only say Young Land because in Ancient it means the land of young or young land. And one was based heavily on science, and one got more religious-y, preachy about it, and having Rush be kind of like the savior type of figure. Watching the end of Season 2 in Stargate Universe, this is where we really get to see what happened with that alternate timeline. In the episode Twin Destinies, Destiny goes back in time about 12 hours, I believe, and two Destinies were formed and diverged. Two crew were diverged. Telford went back to Earth. The others got sent to a different planet. So, the idea is with Sam is that in combination, I'm guessing, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm guessing that Sam theorizes that since Destiny is going back in time, he theorizes, that 2,000 years beyond that would equal million of years today. Millions and millions of years. Because we know that the Ancients split from the Ori millions of years ago and traveled to the Milky Way galaxy where they formed their own civilization. Therefore, in order for that civilization to have evolved, both culturally speaking as well as physically speaking, it would have happened millions of years before that. And so that's where he theorizes that the 2,000 years that the Destiny crew would go back in time, in reality, would be millions of years to us here on Earth. There's a problem with that as well. Sam, this is a very innovative idea. Really, kudos. The difficulty is a couple of different things. One, the Ancients split from the Ori, and they traveled across a couple of galaxies to get to the Milky Way galaxy, where they formed their own civilization. So, I'm sorry, now I'm looking at myself, it's weird, and I'm lagging. There we go. So, at the time, the Ancients had traveled through a couple of different galaxies in order to reach the Milky Way galaxy a couple of million years ago. We don't know the exact date. Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. This is a big theory, and it's kind of hard for me to unravel. It literally took me like a month and a half to try to figure all this out. Where was I? Oh, the ancient splitting from the Ori millions of years ago, coming to Earth, and how that didn't line up, temporally speaking, with... Oh, yes, that's it. The ancient's ability to travel intergalactically. So Destiny is able to travel across hundreds of different galaxies to try to reach where the Big Bang occurred. Now, that was millions of years ago. And we also know that millions of years ago, they had the ability to travel across a couple of different galaxies in order to reach the Milky Way and to establish a colony. And theoretically, the best that we understand it, Destiny took off not long after the ancients reached the Milky Way galaxy relativistically, that's wrong. Relatively speaking. There we go. This is what happens live, guys. You don't get to see me make all these stupid mistakes. Anyway, I'm getting off track again. So, I theorized that really there wouldn't be enough time. There's not enough time difference between Destiny leaving and the ancients coming to the Milky Way, and the timeline is off. Does that make sense? I really butchered that thought. I'm sorry. Secondly, the Novans were wiped out. Sorry, Charlie. In the second to last episode of Stargate Universe, we go see Novus and this big colony that the alternate Destiny made, and they had cities that were a lot like modern day, like New York, and they had street lamps, and it all looked about what we have right now. And it got wiped out. A supervolcano exploded. Everyone on the planet died due to asphyxiation. And, you have a lot of ash in the air. Temperatures got lowered. Everyone got wiped out. And there was just people in a couple of different colonies that were living in tents. And that were barely surviving. So I'm sorry, dude. But the whole planet got wiped out. The potentially future ancients in Ori, most of them were dead. Sorry. And they got transported back 2,000 years ago. So what I'm saying is the stones don't work with time. It's constant, which indicates that FTL, as soon as Destiny achieves FTL, time dilation stops, and it goes back to regular time, whatever that is, enough for the stones to work, indicating that Destiny is not traveling back through time, meaning that the crew actually traveled back 2,000 years into the past, not millions plus 2,000 years. And even then, most of them got wiped out with a supervolcano. Sorry, crap happens. Lastly, the payload. Excuse me. The theoretical payload to distribute life throughout all of these different galaxies. Oh, another thing about the time is that if Destiny is constantly going back through time while they're traveling across galaxies, then the Nokai, the blueberry aliens, how the hell do they know when Destiny is going to drop out and attack it if it's also traveling into the past? I don't see that happening. They have to be on the same or similar timelines in order for the blueberry aliens to go forward to a different part of the galaxy where Destiny is going to be. Since, as far as we know, time works in a linear fashion, which according to Doctor Who, it works in more of a wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey way. But to our understanding, it works in a pretty linear fashion. So if the blueberry aliens know where Destiny is here, and Destiny is going forward and back in time at the same time, the blueberry aliens can't go into the past and pop up over here and attack Destiny. To our understanding of how time works, that wouldn't work. So that's another piece of evidence why Destiny cannot be traveling back in time. Things keep following it, and things keep attacking it. Anyway, last thing. Oh, payload. That was it. The payload. As far as we understand on our current basis of knowledge, as understood by me, who is not a physicist, who is not trained in physics, but who is just a nice admirer of the field and tries to learn as much as I can because it's super freaking interesting. To our understanding, life as we know it, as we can survive, happens within a particular ring around a star, the Goldilocks zone. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, it has the place where liquid water can form and where carbon-based life, like us, can evolve and develop. Now, in SG-1, Sam theorizes that you would have similar shrubberies, you would have similar type of creatures that are carbon-based because it is all found within that Goldilocks zone. So, although there is definitely going to be some different evolutionary strings, some things are going to do better on other planets and not so well on others. We already see that. For example, the microbes on the desert planet, they were able to survive, but they were really able to thrive, theoretically, in a planet with a lot more water. But they were able to evolve on a planet that was desert. Now us, we would freaking die in that desert, and we almost had a couple crew who did. We wouldn't survive, but that little micro fly dust thingy, cloud colony, whatever you want to call it, did. So you're right, things evolve differently on different planets to suit the climates and natural selection and all that good stuff. But we would have very similar things because it's all found in that Goldilocks zone in a solar system. If it's outside of that zone, theoretically, we would see similar types of life throughout the universe and throughout the galaxy. Are there going to be variations? Hell yeah, there's going to be variations. But you're not going to have a human-like type person evolving on Pluto because our similar type of physiology would not survive on Pluto. Does that make kind of sense? I'm hoping this is making sense. So, Destiny going through back in time, or the seed ships going through back in time and seeding the galaxy with this payload, we have no evidence of that really at all. The seed ships we do know are putting stargates and are standing and giving information about planets, but we have no evidence that they are spreading, pine tree seeds or anything like that. Simply because on every planet that the Destiny crew steps onto, everything's well established. The trees are well established, the bushes are well established, the creatures are well established, and they're not super, super new. It's not a barren hunk of rock every single time, and just a few things are starting to grow. Therefore, Destiny, I theorize, is not having a payload, is not going back in time, and the crew of the Destiny are not the Ori and the Ancients. Now, Sam, freaking kudos, man, for coming up to this theory. It is really innovative. I can see totally how you came up with this. I get it. All I'm saying is that there's more evidence against it than there is for it. I know you guys, a lot of times I come up with theories and you guys make some wonderful arguments saying, yes, you're right. No, you're horrible. This makes sense. This doesn't make sense. But yeah, so Sam, kudos on the theory. I just think it's incorrect. So now it's time to go over into the comments and see what you guys think. I'm sorry my explanation was a little long. So let's go see what you guys look or say, and let's go back in the comments. And ooh, there's a lot of you guys. Grandpa Place, howdy, hey, it's good to see you guys. Leon Strait, yeah, you made it. Congratulations. James Fry, welcome back, buddy. Grandpa's Place is in Texas. James from England. Kingara from North Carolina. Cedric from Canada. Leon from England. Wow, this is so cool. James Fry, I'm sure it would involve the multiverse somewhere along the two. Yeah, could be. Weird Man Wizard, what is he talking about? Basically, you have to go back to the beginning and do that part. Basically, the theory was by a subscriber, Sam Mauser, is that Destiny is going back in time as it goes due to time dilation. That the crew of the Destiny, since they're going back in time, got to be the Ancients and the Ori. They developed into those two species. And that the Destiny itself, it has a payload to start life in the universe instead of going to seek it out. Basically. 198 of 505. I like the idea of temporal bow shockwave. I do too. It's a really nice phrase. People from Belize, welcome. Lincolnshire, England, howdy. Russia, hey man. This is really cool to see where all you guys are from. Switzerland, hey, right on. 198 of 505. Except the civilization that is sent back in time isn't that far back. The colony founded was dated by Eli. Exactly. It was 2,000 years. Period. Not millions. Sorry, Charlie. Only good tuna can be Starkist tuna. Omega Low. The theory is not possible, by the way. Antics gnome missing the cure of destiny. I don't get that last part. Antics gnome missing and cure. Oh, do you mean this gnome? I have a gnome. I don't know if you mean that gnome or not, but you know. He's my gnome. This is so cool. Did the Novans have like a generation ship that left Novus? We don't know. It is very unlikely that they had interstellar travel that was not the gate system. Very unlikely. It seems like all of their intergalactic travel was through the Stargates. Based mainly off of the type of civilization that we see on Novus. It all looks very 21st century. Or late 20th century nowadays, I should say. And so our interstellar travel is not that great. Granted, that colony had a big, advantage than us. But judging from their society, from the level of advancement that they were at, I would say they didn't have any generation type ship or any interstellar travel that wasn't the Stargate. If you want to see the rest of the live stream, you can click right here for the full version with a lot of Q&A, and we're talking about a lot of other great stuff. You can also click right here for some more awesome Stargate content. Thanks to everyone who bought me a cup of coffee this week. You guys are freaking amazing. And until next time, I'll see you on the other side.